Hi, this is Pat Moorhead. We are back for another 6-5 virtual in the booth. We're talking RSA. We're talking security. I am here with my co-host, Daniel Newman, and my bestie. How are you doing, my friend?
Patrick, great to be here at RSA. Kind of. I do love these virtual in the booths. It gives us the opportunity to talk to and hear about and be part of all of the news. And for you and I, the occasional ability to do it from someplace that doesn't require us to get on an airplane.
That's for sure. And we're not going to be at RSA, kind of. I mean, we're going to be watching videos and tuning in, but RSA is all about security, and it is incredible what has happened over the past decade. I mean, we have nation state budgets, we have hacking as a service, and anytime as a service comes in, it is big. But hey, let's jump in and introduce our guest, Chris Meenan from IBM. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, Dan and Pat.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. First time on the 6-5, and hopefully not the last. We have had a lot of IBMers on the show, and we're just glad to have you.
I'm really glad to be here. Looking forward to talking.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you here, Chris. And we're going to hop right in because in the booths are fast paced. So
boom, boom, boom.
Let's look back to the pre-pandemic era, 2019. IBM Security and McAfee founded the Open Cybersecurity Alliance, or also known as the OCA. This was established to develop and promote a set of common code, patterns, and practices so that cybersecurity tools could share data to seamlessly interoperate with one another. Now, in 2023, is the idea of open technology and interoperable tools still a core value of the product teams?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's become even more important. I mean, when we started that initiative with McAfee and got all the other companies into that open source initiative, we were really focused on, there's too many tools out there. They all need to be wired together. It's causing a lot of additional time for security teams to put these together. And then they've got all of these different user interfaces. So there's all of this additional complexity because these tools fundamentally don't talk to each other. You wind the clock forward now with COVID, there's been a mass acceleration to the cloud. That's driven even more security tooling as that attack surface has now grown. The attackers now get more infrastructure to go after as orgs are spread all over clouds and SaaS services. So there's even more tooling. There's even more user interface complexity. There's even more integration. And the skill shortage is only even getting more and more acute. So there's that need to drive simplicity for the security teams, giving them more time to focus on outcomes and not wiring together lots of tools. That is, we've seen even more initiatives around openness and interoperability. So I think this is going to continue to gain momentum and become really a foundational piece of a lot of security capabilities.
Yeah, we talked about this in the green room, Chris, or in our pre-briefing, but it seems like suites and or open and interoperable is definitely the way to go because the time that these companies get to integrating it in, they're 3 versions behind, and a lot of these integrations actually expose security holes. Let's dive into AI. I mean, listen, security and AI, there's nothing new to that. It's one of the ways that the intruders are doing hacking as a service. It's not just about throwing an army of people. It's about throwing an army of intelligent AI bots. But we are here, I mean, in the next evolution, whether it's GANs, whether it's generative AI. Can you provide any predictions on how AI will evolve and have the influence on your product strategy? Because you're helping the good guys, trying to keep the bad guys out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so look, AI is, I mean, obviously it's really, really hot right now. You've ChatGPT is taking the world by storm. And, as I look back over the last few years, IBM has been investing in AI heavily. And we've been seeing an evolution of the technology and importantly, how it's being used. And one of the things we had seen, and I think is really ChatGPT is a really great example of, is first of all, AI has to sit in the workflow of the user. It just has to be part of their narrative, part of the user experience of the workflow they're trying to they're using to achieve some outcomes. It can't be this thing off to the side. It needs, the more infused it is, the more seamless it is, the easier it is to adopt. So we've absolutely seen that, and I think that will continue to increase. So everything will increasingly become with AI helper to the side. I don't think we'll see, and I don't think we'll see a mass, like, replacement of humans with AI or anything like that. It will be about AI infused to accelerate somebody carrying out a job or an outcome in a piece of software. And that will continue. I think the area that we'll see a lot of innovation around is trust and reliability and transparency. There is, AI is very powerful, but it's not always right. There are certain, bias things in AI. AI can be exploited as well by attackers and influenced to give incorrect answers. So I think that sort of that reliability, transparency is going to become increasingly important, especially as you can imagine, as users become more and more accustomed to actually trusting and relying on the output. That trust is only earned. And when incorrect answers are given, that trust can disappear. So, and therefore, users' minds can pivot very much away from trusting it and using it. So I think that whole area of trust, reliability, and transparency is going to be the sort of next evolution.
Yeah, Chris, I love some of the things you said. I've been on the record more than a few times talking about the augmentation, the difference between upskilling, the difference between displacement, replacement, and the needs for enterprises to be able to leverage data, to be able to build trust and upskill the workforce. Concurrently, I've also gone on the record on a few different occasions, said IBM is pretty uniquely positioned to capitalize on generative AI as it relates to proprietary data that exists inside of enterprises. So we're seeing this big inflection around sort of the open internet and all the data that's being used to create models. This is creating an adoption swell, but for companies to create a competitive advantage, whether that's to secure their technology or a competitive advantage to use data to drive experiences or operational efficiency, it's going to be really found in the proprietary data. And that's where IBM and its services have been really well positioned. And I think the next couple of years could be really good for you guys. So let's talk a little bit about technology and tools, though. Let's pivot that way. In 2023, are you seeing or finding or sharing what would be considered core guiding principles with your teams across product, across development of your portfolio to help drive security?
Yeah, there's a few things there. There's how we go about creating solutions to help our customers. And, the thing that I always emphasize, there's several things I would emphasize, but some of the key ones really are everything has got to take work away. We've talked about the skills shortage. It's actually a global skills shortage. The skills globally are, set to decline. So we're going to see, and that's, part of the reason AI is becoming so, so popular now is because it seems really helping with that and accelerating outcomes. So everything we do now, we always say, we have to be taking work away. If you're going to give the user a new screen, you better remove 3. So that concept of don't add work, don't add more insights unless you're actually driving to the outcome more quickly in a really tangible way. Because it's very easy for, especially with new technologies coming about, everyone get very excited about some new piece of tech, but actually, if you're not careful, that can actually add work. It can actually cause additional work without that focus on what's the outcome and am I taking work away. So that second area, again, like just focusing on the outcome, making sure that tech isn't just, we're just going to integrate these two things. Like, okay, what's the outcome? Are we driving to a faster decision? Are we getting a more accurate decision? That absolutely critical in today's world, especially with cost savings, and again, the need to act more quickly in this heightened threat environment, expanded attack surface. And then finally, is just that take nothing for granted. Don't take for granted that customers will know how to use your capabilities by default. Don't take for granted they're going to know how to wire things together, or even what they need to switch on. Take nothing for granted as we move forward. And they're really some of the things that I keep sort of beating on, because if you put customer problems into the top and you focus on those things, you'll generally get a good solution out the other end, for sure.
So, Chris, we've had your CEO, Arvind Krishna, on the 6.5 a few times. In fact, he kicked off our summit last year. That's our premier program. And he has been talked a little bit about IBM strategy, which is to, hey, let's lean a little bit more forward where the world is going in relation to technology versus, let's say, where it's been. And, historically, I would say that IBM has some very conservative customers. So the previous strategy made sense, but it also risked maybe getting left behind with the technology. But now we have, IBM in quantum. We have IBM doing foundation models with AI supercomputers. How does this new strategy or a new way of doing things impacting the way that you're focusing on innovation in the security space?
Yeah, thanks. It's this tension between what we're doing today for customers and what we need to be doing in the future is something that IBM has a real focus on managing internally. So we always think about, you may be familiar with the Horizon concept, where you have Horizon 1, 2, and 3 capabilities. So we have a very healthy pipeline and team of people looking at those Horizon 3 type opportunities. So they are the blue sky thinking. They're the ones where we're going out and leveraging things like foundational models outside of large language models and chatbots, actually taking those and applying them to specific business problems to drive better outcomes. Things like quantum, where, quantum has that, quantum takes off, the core of security, of encryption could really be put at risk. So, we're really focusing on that, because in 3 to 4 years' time, that could become a really big problem. But in the meantime, we always, obviously, customers trust us. We are a trusted partner. We have a huge focus on ensuring our customer success. So we always keep focus on those Horizon 1 and 2 products as well, and make sure that we are delivering on the needs that customers have today.
Well, Chris, this has been really interesting and entertaining to have a conversation about what I would say is one of the most important technology trends right now. As we've seen rotation out of growth at all costs, we've seen companies becoming more and more focused on how do we secure our data, our perimeter, create trust, reliability. And obviously, IBM is very focused on being able to deliver some of those core tenets. I think that had a lot to do with the company's stability over the last couple of years. I do believe it was one of the highest performing stocks in the market during the period when the rest of technology was really getting whacked. And it was because you'd never strayed from that sort of core belief of serving the enterprise and taking care of those complex needs. Security is very high on that list. So while we can't be there with you at RSA, Patrick and I love the opportunity to do this in a virtual setting and be part of the RSA experience for IBM. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Hit that subscribe button to check out all our coverage from RSA and, of course, all the 6.5 coverage from Patrick and myself. For this episode of 6.5 in the booth, virtually from RSA, it's time to say goodbye. We'll see you all later.